Hi guys, how are you? My name's Steve, and I'm a happily engaged client of Match Guarantee, and now a success coach with Match Guarantee. And I'm here to share my experiences and help lend a helping hand to you guys that are also on this journey, because quite frankly, it's not been an easy one. So welcome. Today's live stream is entitled "Surviving COVID in Your Relationship." Maybe you're in a relationship with a Ukrainian lady, yet you've been locked down and it's been super hard to keep the relationship alive across the distance. Well, I can totally relate. I haven't been able to see my fiance Irina now in over a year, and it's been really tough. So first of all, let me show a short video and see so you guys can see how lucky I got. So yeah, now you guys see that. Now Irina's a beautiful lady, and she's just as beautiful on the inside as she is on the out. Next Sunday, I was planning on doing a live on my experience and with the K1 visa process and some steps I was planning on taking to go through that process to try to speed it up. Well, today we got a interesting email from the embassy in Kiev, and they are going to start doing interviews for the K1 visas starting April 1st, that they will release dates where people can sign up to do interviews. So that's great news for me. It changes the little things that I was planning on doing. But anyway, just thought I would share that with you. So if you're in the same boat as I have been and you're waiting for an interview date, April 1st is when the embassy in Kiev will start allowing for you to sign up online to get dates for interviews. So okay, so anyway, let's get started with going how I survived my COVID relationship with my fiance overseas. Today, I'm going to just share with you from my personal experience what's it's been like, specifically how I've been able to manage my relationship, not only survive, but strengthen it. I feel strengthen it when you've been physically alienated from your loved one for this entire COVID year. And to put in perspective, we've only had 3 real dates together in person. So that's why us guys sometimes fail going the distance in a long distance relationship with Ukrainian ladies. Sometimes we fail because we aren't realistic. We want a microwave relationship. So you got to be patient, and that's one of the big things that I have learned and we have learned throughout this process. So anyway, if you have questions, feel free to chime on in, and I'll try to answer those as we go. First, communication. This has been incredibly difficult. To try to find a silver lining in it is being able to learn to communicate with each other has been invaluable. We come from different cultures, and this time our communication has been able to improve. We've learned each other, we learned how to communicate with each other. Irina's been taking more English classes, so that has been real good, a real blessing to us. I've been working on some of my Russian, which is awful, but and it makes her laugh when I try to use it. But it's something that we try to work on. We've had set times for mini dates alone with each other throughout the whole year. We try to talk twice a day, and we set time together that we'll just be alone and talk to each other and talk and talk and talk and talk about whatever we want to talk about. Our soon to be married life, what we have still as goals to do, all that kind of stuff. Language, Irina really has been working hard on that, and that's credit to her. And I've been trying to work on learning some of the Russian phrases and stuff. And so, that's, there's a silver lining, that's one of it. Being able to use Rosetta Stone is what I've been using to try to learn and pick up sentences and different words that I'll just throw in there, and learning our very different sense of humor. And that's something that is really a quite stark difference from ladies here in the West, is the sense of humor. Another thing that's been challenging for us is the difference in metric and imperial systems that the United States use. Everywhere else in the world uses the metric system. When I was younger, we were all going to switch in the United States to the metric system, and we did not, and still are in the imperial system, which, it is what it is. It's something I grew up with and learned, so it's not that big of a thing. But for her coming over here, learning to use Fahrenheit for cooking, using Fahrenheit for your own temperature, body temperature, those kinds of things have been a little more of an issue, or just a change that we have had to adapt to. I've been really using this long year to prepare. I've been a bachelor my whole entire adult life. I asked married friends what to do to help try to get myself started with this. Their wives wanted different when they moved in together. I've replaced carpet with laminate. I've built shelvings and storage units in the closets. I've installed shoe racks, bought clothes, and smelly, nasty soaps that I think smell like flowers, and I don't not get into that. Everything I can think of that she might like, I've tried to make sure that I have here on hand. I talked to my Ukrainian friends about household items, different personal items that will help her assimilate. If it's I've gone to the Russian store and been able to buy her some tea. That's her favorite tea. So she has here a hot pot type warmer, so she can make her tea. That's similar to what they use over there in Ukraine. Just things like that to just really help her assimilate. Another thing is establishing boundaries within our relationships and our personal time together. We have time where we have the video calls with each other, and where everything else in the world just goes silent. We spend that time with each other, and we use the phones to communicate, but we don't, if someone chimes in or calls, we don't answer it. That time is our time together, and we try to focus on that as our time together. So that's something that I've learned, that when she does get here, I'm going to keep, and we're going to keep together, is ensuring that our time is our time. We can set boundaries up and make sure we are committed to having that special alone time together every day we can. Preparing for driving ID is another thing that I've been able to do. Most large police departments have driver's manuals in other languages. the city of Portland, for example, which is the biggest city in Oregon, they have a Russian driver's license manual. So I was able to procure one of those and a English version and sent those over to Irina so she can read the Russian version, read the English version, and if there's a question or something that may be a little different, she'll be able to see what the differences are and compare, contrast the same document within the two languages. So one thing also is I have some sticky notes with the English and Russian word around to help me learn some of the Russian phrases for things, and with the English phrases. For example, I was calling a dresser, the Russian word, they were calling it a commode, which is very different than meaning here than over there. So that's something that I found kind of hilarious, and versus the Russian word for it. This is something that I've been doing. I've been adding different things, trying to help for the last year, and my home projects still are not done, but that is something that I'll continue to work on and have available. And what friends have told me is you're never done improving the house, so we'll just keep working on that. I need to understand nothing old is quaint, or antiques are not a big thing in Ukraine. They see antiques as old junk that needs to be thrown away. No items are antique or quaint or anything like that. My impression of the Ukrainian thought process with that is always ahead, never behind. And so she wants things to be newer, updated, all those kinds of things. A clock on the wall is old. It's old. So I replace a lot of things for her. She's been able to pick out in catalogs and that kind of thing, and able to set it up and show her that, and she's been able to have some input already, even though she's 5,000 miles away. So that's been great. One thing that I'll just tell guys, really important, that I've learned through this is to try to anticipate her needs. What do I mean by that? Well, I'll also tell you again some personal stuff here. She contracted COVID about a month ago. With that, she could not work for almost 2.5 weeks, and then right after that, her mother was diagnosed with it, and it was bad enough that she went into the hospital. The one thing especially when you love someone and she's not working for 2.5 weeks, they don't get paid like we get paid here. They don't have a lot of paid vacation, especially with the COVID type situation. When I knew she was out, I anticipated that and sent her some money. That way, you find a way to help them out without her having to ask or beg, and she's really thankful for that. It wasn't a lot of money. She hasn't asked me for money, but like this, in this type of situation, I sent her one. I want her to be able to pay her bills, think about getting better, thinking about having her mother get better in the hospital, having to pay for a lot of extra things, and then not working on top of it has been very difficult for her. So trying to be that rock, trying to just take care of her needs that she might have. So sending her some money. It wasn't, again, it wasn't a lot, and it wasn't that she asked. It was something you see, you know there's going to be a need because of the whole situation. You anticipate it, and you just do it. And that shows her my commitment to her. And it's one of those things that you can just do and be ready to show her you're there for her and her family during emergencies. Again, Irina's never asked me for money. I don't. I believe she may have wanted to in this situation, but why make a lady do that when she's already in a tough situation with COVID, trying to recover? She's having to go to the pharmacy almost every day to buy medicine for her mom to take to the hospital. So please, if you're in that kind of situation, try to anticipate that. Don't make a lady beg or ask for money, because there's scams, and there's also times that are legitimate. Irina's, I knew when she got her, I actually paid when they were both sick. First thing I did is paid some money to get them COVID tests in home, because they both were sick and didn't know if they had it or not. So had someone come to the home and give them their tests, and they were positive. So at that point, for a fact it's a legitimate issue. So do the right thing. It's not that much money to send over to make sure that they have what they need to pay their power bill, to pay their gas bill for heat, minor things like that are necessities. Irina's spending a lot of money out of her savings right now to buy medicine for her mom, and that's something that I'll continue to try to support her as. And if I get extra money, things like that, I know I have a stimulus coming soon, that I'll send some of that to her. Right now, in our alone time, one thing we talk about is budgeting and how much money is going to go here and there, and that kind of thing. And I have nothing for her to hide from her. We've been engaged for well over a year. Finances are something that most couples fight over in a relationship, and it's something that I didn't want us to fight over. And so I tried to be as transparent as I could with that when we decided to get engaged. So she knew I wasn't a multimillionaire when she dated me. Not a millionaire, not a barely a multi-thousandaire. So anyway, that was my approach to it, and I wasn't trying to be something that I wasn't. So anyway, I see some people here online, but if you have any questions, feel free to come and ask. That's really all I had to talk about tonight. Tomorrow, or coming up, I know we have some more lives planned. Myself, I had one planned for next weekend about how I was contemplating and planning on retaining a lawyer to sue the USCIS and to ask for a writ of mandamus, which would force the government to give me a yes or no answer in our application process, and either process it or tell me no and tell me what I need to do to appeal, versus just having it sit on a desk in the American consulate part of the embassy. So right now, doesn't look like I need to do that, as they're starting to process the K-1s again on the April 1st. So So anyway, if you have questions, feel free to ask. Let's see, here's one. I didn't hear it all, only the last part. I assume don't expect a man to pay money to a girl he has not met yet, correct? Absolutely. No. I've known this lady. I've been engaged for over a year, made multiple trips to Ukraine to meet her, know her, meet her family, that kind of thing. That's when you know you're in a committed relationship, is when she introduces you to her family. And when that happens, then your relationship's in a different level. But no, don't send money to anyone you haven't physically met. And it's, again, I don't send money to her, period. Except for times like this where I made the decision to send it to her because I knew there was going to be a need. I don't financially support her every month. I just, when there's something that I know, like when she tested positive to COVID and wasn't going to be able to work for a while, I just sent her some money to make sure she could focus on getting better versus, okay, I'm going to have to force myself to try to go to work and spread COVID everywhere. Because that's what's happening a lot in Kiev right now, is people can't afford to just stay at home. So they're going to work sick, and then they're infecting the rest of their office or the staff that they work with. And that's how Irina got it. And it's a tough situation because one, they don't make a lot of money, and every dollar's accounted for. So it's one of those things that you have to deal with at some time. John, from your viewpoint, how do Ukrainian women feel about a guy with a lot of tattoos? That is a very good question. It depends on the lady you're dating. Younger ladies, I would say 30 and younger, the 20 to 30 crowd, don't mind it whatsoever. The older ladies, the older you get, the more conservative they are, and tend not to like that. Now, again, it depends on each lady individually. If you have a lot of tattoos, if you use our free introductory package, you send a picture where you have arms that are covered in tattoos, they can see that. If you are wearing a suit in all your pictures and they can't, it's a good thing just to kind of throw that in. Hey, I have a lot of tattoos, da 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 da. So you don't waste your time with trying to connect with a lady and contact them if she's going to not like that, or she's going to have a problem with that, because you don't want to meet her for the first time and then have her instantly, I don't like this. So again, it's just something to be open and honest about. But yeah, that's a very good question. Younger people in Kiev have more tattoos. That it's just one of those things. You don't see a lot of arm tattoos. You see some, but again, it's more the younger crowd. You don't see it in older people, and especially older women. How is the healthcare system in Ukraine? It's awful. It's awful. It's awful. It's awful. For example, when the ambulance was called to take my future mother-in-law to the hospital, one thing they did is she had a bag of her own stuff, including towels. You have to take towels to help you, wash yourself at the hospital. You have to bring the medicine from a pharmacy to the hospital. I've been told you can't take too much, otherwise it'll get stolen. So it's one of those things where it's not a good situation. It's you know, these are the public hospitals. Uh, so private hospitals are completely different, but those are, again, very expensive, or a lot more expensive. For example, again, I'll just open this up, that I sent Irina to one for as she was having some lung issues with COVID, and had them take an x-ray and make sure everything was okay and she was recovering fine, versus having her go into and wait for an appointment and with her family doctor to see. Again, time is of the essence when you're dealing with COVID. So it's one of those things that, what good is money if the person's going to be really suffered or harmed? So for me, it was important to have her get checked out, versus her own doctor that said, I can't see you till another week. So I sent her to that private clinic. But the public stuff is not very good, comparably speaking. Now, compared to other places, it may be okay to other third world like countries, but compared to the Western United States or Western world, Europe, and Canada, it's not good at all. Any website you can recommend for a girl to learn English online? No. What I would suggest is have her do an online class with an actual professor or a tutor. That will help a lot more. That's a lot of people, especially with COVID, a lot of English teachers aren't able to make money when they have classes of 20. So they're having to do a lot of online stuff. It's very inexpensive. You get that personal touch. And as far as back and forth with someone, they do it on Zoom. And that has been most helpful for Irina to learn, to be able to converse back and forth versus a paper or a computer program that doesn't really work that much. I sent over Rosetta Stone English to a different girl that I knew, about 4 or 5 years ago, when she asked me if I could help her, learn English a little bit better. So, and that did not work very well for her. So, again, it's just something that you can do. Along with that, what's it called with online tutors? You just have to find one in Kiev. Most ladies know, again, because the whole online class concept is shut down. There's tutors everywhere in Kiev that are regular English instructors, and now they just do it by Zoom. I don't remember the name. I have the invoices I get sent are in Russian for the most part, so they're very inexpensive. I think, let's see how much I paid. I want to pay $50 for I think 3 months of meeting twice a week, something like that. Again, very inexpensive for what you get. When I looked into having a Russian tutor here, it was, about 5 times that. So anyway, hopefully that answers your question. If anyone has some more, go ahead. I have a few more minutes here. I can answer questions you might have. If you have questions and are watching this later, feel free to leave it in the comments below, and I'll try to answer them as best I can. And again, I'm sharing this from my heart with you guys. I want to help as many guys as I can with this, because it's been tough. It's been a tough year. It's one of those things where, it's not been fun, but again, what are you going to do? Everyone's in the same situation, so you learn to try to make the best of it and learn from it, and instead of let it hurt your relationship, you let it help. I have another guy that I know that I talked to that uh, the lady gave up after about 8 months of going through this K1 process. So that's one of those things that uh, happens. And for someone like me who's not supporting the lady, to have Arena, still on board, still every week checking the website, it's something that it will weed out the people that are in it for other reasons. Do you know if required insurance required to buyer when entering the UA? Does it cover public or private hospitals? It depends on where you buy it. If you go to, I want to say it's travel.ua. If you go on the, let's see, it's the Health Committee of Ukraine, their address, and go in there. There's a link there to buy it. It's very inexpensive. I'm not sure what it covers. I haven't looked at it. I just looked at purchasing it in case I need to make a trip over to Ukraine quick, to see Arena or to help her with her mother. So again, it was, I want to say $30 for a week and a half. Public or private insurance, I don't know. I know I would make sure I had a credit card where I could stay at a private hospital, but it's one of those things. Visit UA. Yeah, you're right. That's what it is. So anyway, let's see, another one. Do many women in Ukraine really want to marry a Western man? What is wrong with their men? Do they just want a green card or marry for money? I haven't found that to be the case. Do they really want to marry a Ukraine or a Western man? It depends. A lot of them just want to get married, and there's just not a lot of selection for them. You can see different videos that Anna has produced that talk about some of the issues they have with Ukrainian men, and so. But first of all, just so you know, there's just not an overabundance of them. So a lot of Ukrainian men work abroad. They end up marrying someone from those other countries when they go to work. So there's not a lot of extra men to go around. There's more women than men. Various things say 6-1 to 8-1, something like that. So again, it's the exact opposite of like China, which has a lot more men than women. So it's that. Ukrainian ladies love to get married. They want to get married. They want to have children. So if they can't find them where they're at, they are open to looking abroad. Do they want a green card? Again, it depends on the lady. If you're fishing in the correct pond, if you vet the lady, if you've gone through a long relationship with her, most likely she's interested in you and not just wanting a green card. That's one thing that this has taught me, is when you're going through a year-long process, that it's going to make sure you're going to see how determined she is about coming here, because it all filters out all the scammers and stuff. Again, if they're looking for something, they're going to give up after a while and try something else. A year, they're not going to waste their time with that. So it's one of those things. Do they want to marry for money? Not in my case. I don't make that much money. I had to save up. I just didn't have extra money to go use this service and go to Ukraine. It was something I had to save for. It was something I prioritized, and again, it's something I put in my introductory letter when I went through the introductory package, that I didn't make a lot of money. I was very middle class, and so I was pretty open and honest about that. And it's something I've been very transparent about. Uh, you know, I do have a second car that Arena is going to be able to drive. It's a 2012, and uh, she thinks, well, that's kind of old, but she drives a 2006, for example. So, and she has a car over there in Ukraine. So it's not something that she realizes, and she understands that I'm not wealthy, and but I will take care of her. I've shown that, and she has routinely mentioned and reiterates that how much she appreciates that I take care of her. If that's from remembering our first date, to sending her flowers, to International Women's Day, to Valentine's Day, to just any other special things that you just remember those special moments, and make sure you uh, tell her and show her that you do it. Uh, from your experience, do most of the Ukrainian lady prefer to stay in Ukraine or move abroad once married? Um, Again, it depends on the ladies. If you use a service like Match Guarantee, that's one thing. Tatiana, when she goes through and talks to the ladies, uh, she really makes sure that they understand is if they're looking for a husband abroad, that they're going to have to move abroad in 99% of the cases. So that's something that when you use a service is helpful with that, is that communication uh, in in knowing what they're going to have to do if they advance in this relationship. For the ladies I know at Match Guarantee, if they're not willing to move abroad, don't understand that, they're most likely not going to join our agency with that. We don't pay them. We don't. They don't get anything out of our agency other than the chance to meet someone that's wants to really get married. So anyway, I hope that answers your question. Um, and I'll stay on for a few more minutes if there's any other questions that you might have. Um, anyway, what else can I tell you with this topic off the top of my head? If you are going to Ukraine, it's very complicated right now. They are open, but the numbers of COVID has shot through the roof lately in the last week or so. My opinion is they might be headed toward another shutdown, but I don't know that for sure. Arena told me that about 10,000 people a day are getting diagnosed with COVID, so that's of course not good. So again, one thing for most airlines you have to have now is a test. For Ukraine, it's 48 hours from when you arrive. You have to have a negative test. You can also take one there in the airport. If you go through Amsterdam, you have to have a test. So an antigen test. So and again, that is not the quick test that with the blood. It's usually a nasal swab test. So you have to have a negative one of those. How long has your search for a future wife taken? I started, let's see, I went to Ukraine for the first time in 2016 with a different agency. And I can tell you it wasn't a great experience there. And it took me a while again to save up, and I went with a match guarantee and went on their unlimited dates and dated about 9 ladies and over 2 different trips, and met the lady in my dreams that way. Again, as I always tell guys, you don't know how your relationship's going to be until you leave. When you go back home and you see how they communicate with you, the want to communicate, then that's when you know who's really interested or not. So I've been doing this for a long time. Um, so again, I went to match guarantee. It would have been 2019. I went in October, and then I went again in January of 2020 for my second trip. So, and I'm very happy I did. It was a good investment in me. I could stay home and complain about Western women or American women. Or I could do something about it. Again, for me, I knew some Ukrainian ladies that worked for me. They were awesome, and I just love their traditional values. So that's what made me look in Ukraine. Where can you take these tests in the airport or better priced outside the airport? For your return trip to the United States, it's a lot better outside the airport. If you write coaching at matchguarantee.com, they can send you some places that will cost half as much as the airport. At the airport, it's around $60 for a test, an antigen tests. Here in the United States, the places I looked at that have a quick turnaround, they've been around $99. So again, it's the quick turnaround when you know you're going to go that you're paying for. So it's just one of those things. If you've already bought your plane ticket, you're going to have to pay the piper at that point. So I priced it around some, but I know exactly where I'm going to go now that an urgent care type situation where they can turn the test within 24 hours. So I have the results, and you have to have them written. That's another thing. I will tell you, they don't accept things on like a phone. So you have to have it printed off for them. And again, multiple copies as well. If you go through a separate airport, like if you connect in Amsterdam, like I normally have, or other places, they're going to require that as well. So a couple of copies is usually what you need. To get back in the United States, it's the same process. It's 48 hours. But for me, it's a 19, 20-hour trip. So, the clock goes the other way. So I have a little bit more time than when I went over there. But again, it's one of those processes you have to have. One story I will tell you about my first trip to Ukraine that tells you a little bit about Ukraine and kind of the really to watch what you're doing and where you're going is my first trip was to a place called Chernotsy, which is close to the Romanian border, and I got in real late one night, and I asked the person behind the counter using my phone if there was any restaurants around where I could get something to eat. She said the only place open was down below. It was a bar. And I went down there, and I was scared, as most of the guys had shoulder holsters and guns in them. And it was very uncomfortable. Everyone was smoking hookah. You couldn't see, it was so smoky, and you saw these guys with guns, and I was not sure what to think of that. I got something to eat. I paid for it. They charged me a lot more than I thought I had seen on the menu. I brought that to their attention, and the guy said, "Oh, okay," and fixed it. And then I left. And the next morning, when I met my translator, they told me that that was a mafia bar, and members of the mafia routinely went there, and it wasn't a good idea for one, me to go there. Secondly, to argue about how much they charged me. So, um, that was something I learned, and I really washed myself from that point. Because you don't know where you're going. A lot of places, there's not a lot of people that have guns, and let alone sitting around brandishing them in holsters. So if you see that, probably best to if I would have known that, I would have went home and got some nuts or a candy bar or something like that, and that would have been great for the night. What was is it true, once you get married to a Ukrainian, you don't marry her, you marry your whole family? Again, it depends on the lady. Ukraine, some ladies have big families, some of them don't. And as far as what the relationship is with that, uh, will they ask you for support? Yes, a lot of times, yes. And it's one of those things where the lady understands that the first responsibility is to the family, so she's going to know that. And a lot of times, Ukrainian ladies, if they have an option to work, uh, some of them like to do that, so they do have some extra money outside of the family budget to send to their family in Ukraine. Um, you know, I know one of my Ukrainian friends, they're asked all the time for money, and they just have learned to just say no. And unless it's something that's really urgent, but they'll ask for different things, and they think that in the United States everyone is rich and they make lots of money, which comparatively speaking we do, but again the cost of living here is different than there. So it's a balancing act like everything else. How did you meet her website? It was Match Guarantee, which where I help out now as a coach. It was one of those things where my first foray into this was an agency out of Chernivtsi. I'm not, as you guys can see, I'm not the most open person as far as I'm not going to be able to go up to this lady and ask her out. That's just not, and especially in a different culture. I needed that kind of help. I knew who I was, and so being introduced to a bunch of ladies, that's worked for me. The first place I did the agency, it was a pay per letter type site. It wasn't. It was, and when I got there, one of the ladies acted like she hadn't read my letters, and wasn't interested when I showed up. And again, I was there for 12 days in Chernivtsi, and it was a miserable 12 days because there was one lady I was interested in, and she was very hot and cold. Then one lady, again, didn't seem like she was the one that was writing me the letters, and she walked out after I said hello and met her, and then they tried pushing me toward other ladies that they just weren't interested in. So it was one of those tough situations where it was a negative experience. I came back, and it devastated me. It was expensive, and here I'd spent all this money and time thinking I was having a relationship with people and ladies, and I do think one of the ladies was writing me back. The other one, I don't think she was. I think it was someone else. But again, it's all about this process. Now with Match Guarantee, the ladies all had my letters. That's something, you know, I put together a real, I'm a planner, things like that. So I had a lot of questions that I asked and things like that. And so I knew when I met them and asked them some of the questions that they had read my letter. So that was, you know, encouraging to me when I went on my second date. The women I went out with, most of them spoke English. I only had one where the translator was required, and that was good. And that ended up being my fiance, and she really didn't need the translator. The translator was actually Joe's wife. But about when she relaxed a little bit, about 15 minutes into the date, you know, it was pretty obvious she didn't really need much of a translator, but it made her feel more comfortable, so it was fine. What's a few extra dollars when you're going 5,000 miles to try to find your other half? Would I have more luck finding a Ukrainian woman or wife if I was willing to move to Ukraine? Yes, you are, but again, where you're going to live, being an American or a Westerner, you're going to have a bullseye on your back already, from police, from other people, from even mafia type folks. I've heard guys go meet people in a bar, get slipped something, and they wake up beat up in an alley, or they end up in their motel room and everything's gone. So again, I felt more comfortable using a service myself versus trying to experience that, especially with the my first trip with the bar I walked into. It scared me a little bit, and that was probably a good thing. And I knew I wasn't going to walk out and meet ladies, especially if you don't speak the language there. On the western half, if you're going to move to Kiev, a bigger city where a lot more people speak English, then you're going to have a greater chance. Chernivtsi was not, I want to say the 10th largest city, but it's in Western Ukraine, and there was not many English speakers there. When I was in Kiev, it seemed like everyone spoke English to some degree. You went into restaurants, the menus were in English and Ukrainian. So, it just was a lot more comfortable for me. So anyway, if anyone has any last questions I can answer, I could do that. Otherwise, I'll sign off and see you guys next week.
Have you been searching for a beautiful wife? Do you dream of meeting the perfect woman, but haven't found her? Well, imagine if there was a simple way this could all change for you. Imagine if there was a Canadian marriage agency that would introduce you to as many beautiful women as it takes until you find the one. Ukraine, a lost world of beautiful traditional women. At last, a place where you can find the beautiful wife you have always dreamed of. Every Ukrainian woman dreams of having a happy family. Now you can have a traditional beautiful wife from Ukraine, creating happy family memories forever. So what are you waiting for? Register right now and Skype our beautiful ladies completely free. So what makes us different, you might ask? Why not ask Google simply by searching Match Guarantee Reviews?